Okay, so first question I have for you is, in 1945, when the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you were 3 years old. So obviously there's not many personal memories, but you grew up in a world that knew of and had witnessed the atomic bomb. You also grew up in a world terrified of a nuclear attack. Do you have any specific memories about that atmosphere?
Well, like I told you, I lived in Appalachia. We lived out in the country, very rural, and my mother taught in a one-room school, and we did nuclear, rolled under our desk and covered our heads up, just like everybody did in the city, and we did it very seriously, just like a fire drill. In fact, I don't ever remember a fire drill, having gone to school in a one-room wooden school. We never had a fire drill, but buddy, we had nuclear bomb. And the nuclear bomb, as soon as we dropped it, we found out the Russians had it. So it was really a tense time. All that time during the late 40s and 50s. It was really, really kind of oppressive. Kind of, it's always in your mind. And they used to televise nuclear explosions that we made in Nevada and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
They used to televise them, and I remember one time we went on a field trip. We only had one neighbor with a TV, so we went up to his house, took our lunch, and watched the nuclear explosion on TV from Nevada.
Did you, I don't think you guys did, but did anybody you know of have a bomb shelter or anything like that?
No, we didn't have bomb shelters. Now, some of the rich people, like in the town, in the Huntington and so forth, they brought them in the concrete boxes, sort of like a tornado shelter. But we lived in the mountains, and we figured we weren't going to get bombed, so we just went about our ways, and oh well, and being kind of fatalistic, well, oh well. And so we just didn't worry about it, but we did. And even when I went to junior high school. I was back in the 50s. We had bomb drills, just like now we did have fire drills in the junior high school, but we had bomb drills and fire drills, and I think we had them in high school. I'm not sure, but I think it was the late 60s that we quit having them, and so I remember that. And you were always conscious that somebody had the bomb. And nobody in America that I remember was too excited about having dropped the atomic bomb on the Japanese, because some of the atrocities that we had heard and had firsthand experience of people getting back, some of those are just too awful. And we never had too much criticism about bombing in Dresden or any of the things we did in Europe either, because we were fighting to the death. It was really a fight to the death.
Truman dropped the bomb because, in a roundabout, condensed way, because Japan refused to surrender. And prior to that, we were preparing for a very large-scale invasion of mainland Japan, if I recall correctly. Any insight in your personal experience with your years and years of American history study? What do you think would have happened had he not dropped those bombs?
I think it would have been a complete massive. There were hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides. It would have been maybe even more terrible than the bomb. Now the bomb, I mean, if you could imagine what an atomic bomb did, and we couldn't at that time because it was secret, top secret, and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. But it just evaporated the whole city of Nagasaki. And
I think something like 100,000 people were
Yeah.
obliterated instantly, and then
Think
most of
Topeka.
the casualties came after.
right, you just had, let's say we had Topeka, which is 120,000. You dropped a bomb, it disappears off the face of the earth. And in a 10-mile radius, everybody's going to die within 10 years. So it was a god-awful weapon, And then the Russians got it.
Which
And started the Cold War.
it is believed that Truman saved millions of American lives by dropping those bombs. And during an interview with Mary Margaret, who's Truman's daughter, that I watched, she said that throughout her life, people had actually approached her and expressed thanks to her and her father for saving their lives. Do you think that's accurate?
I don't know anybody who lived in World War II's time era or had sons or daughters, well, sons in the military. I don't know anybody who questioned Truman's right to do it. They just didn't. It came afterwards. Now the atrocity is documented, well documented, and it was terrible. What makes it so terrible is here we are, a society that says we love everybody, we want everybody to be free, and then we blow the snot out of everybody.
Twice.
So that's when that dichotomy became public knowledge instead of after World War II and during the 60s, and then we had this societal change. And that adherence to whatever the leader says was good went by the wayside. But I don't remember anybody, even my grandfather who hated Truman, said, why, he's right to drop that bomb on them Japs. So the questioning came in the second generation. It came in the generation after the war. It didn't come from anybody who served in the war.
During that time, yeah.
Guaranteed. And as a side note, remember your Uncle Chelsea, he got cancer because he was at one of the nuclear explosions in Nevada back in the 60s. They had no protection. They gave him sunglasses. That was their protection. And he was a mile from the drop zone. So,
and that's interesting. No, I didn't know that about Uncle Chelsea.
well, that's why he died.
As an educator, do you feel that sufficient time and attention are given to the discussion of this era in American history? Excuse us, we had to get our cookies.
Probably not in, it depends. In public school, they did American history. When I first started teaching, you went from when they settled till the time was, but you never got it covered. And then they split it into...
There's a lot involved.
Up to the Civil War and then post-Civil War. A lot of the people don't know Truman. They don't know Truman. They don't know what he did for the good of the country. They don't understand how much he changed the country. They're just... he's just some guy out in Missouri, had this daughter that played the piano and sang. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what they think about him, kind of a buffoon kind of person.
I think they use the term folksy.
Folksy,
It
yeah.
means, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he wasn't above playing the part either.
Well, sure.
And I do remember the election of 1948, and where everybody thought that the Republican candidate was going to win. Can't even remember his name now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dewey?
Dewey,
Yep.
yeah. And my grandfather was just dumbfounded because he was the politician in the family. All my family were locally, politically invested in things, but they were just, they just ran and raved. And a lot of people, but away from the politicians, Truman really was a man who was guided by principles, I feel, much more than some of the people who have office today, she said.
And that being said, I think we're going to take a break here. Give the dogs a chance to do what they're doing.